So what kind of guitar do you get when you take an Ibanez, mix it with a Suhr, put every single high-end spec on it known to humankind, and sell it for $1,000? Well, you get the CORT G300. Yes, welcome back to the channel, you guys. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. So yeah, we're checking out an absolute spec'd beast. And that is no hyperbole. This guitar has almost every high-end spec a person can think of. And as I said off the top, kind of reminds me a little bit of like an Ibanez AZ series with a little bit of like Suhr guitar mixed in with some other elements, but at a price that is like rock bottom compared to either of those. So anyway, we're gonna play this thing, we're gonna talk about it. Let's jump in, strap yourselves in, because we're checking out the specs. All right, I'll try not to miss anything, but there's a lot to cover. Here we go. Starting on the headstock, we've got locking tuners. I think every guitar in the $1,000 price range should absolutely come with locking tuners, unless it's a vintage inspired guitar. And we've got some great ones here. They're CORT branded, they feel very good, and they're staggered in height from tall to short, which means we only need one string tree, which is great for tuning stability. Next up, we've got a Graphtec nut. Very important. If your string is holding up in that nut, you're gonna have tuning issues, so we've got a high-end nut. Next up, we've got stainless steel frets. Yes, a guitar in the $1,000 price range has stainless steel frets. That means you'll play on this for a lifetime, your kids will play on it, and you won't need a refret, and you can play for hours a day. They're very, very slinky feeling, and these have great fret end treatments as well, which you only find on super high-end guitars. So fretwork is beautiful. Stainless steel frets. Let's stay on the neck. Yes, there's more features. We've got a compound radius, 12 to 16, which means it's a little flatter here, sort of like Les Paul-ish, and then more shred-ish on the top where it gets very, very flat. So that's what a compound radius is. Yes, let's stay on the neck. Roasted maple neck. And this is one of like the deepest kind of chocolatey looking roasted maples I've ever seen. Very nice neck profile. As you guys can see, hopefully it's not too flat on the back. So while it is, you know, maybe a touch thinner than like a 60s Les Paul, sort of fendery, almost a little bit flatter obviously on the fingerboard, but it sits in your hand very nice. So it's not like a paper thin shred neck, but it is fast, so that's nice. Satin on the back. As you guys know, that's one of my huge features that I love on necks. So we've got satin, roasted maple, compound radius, stainless steel frets, graphite nut, locking tuners, lumen lay side dots. I think I've covered everything. That's a lot of specs for just the neck. And of course, we've got contoured heel joint there. I'll just kind of try to show it off in a few different lights so you can see kind of how it breaks and everything. But yeah, your hand just nestles up right to 24 frets. I guess I should mention that as a neck feature as well. So there you guys go. That kind of covers the neck. Let's look at the body. Now the body is American basswood, and as you can see, lots of comfort cuts everywhere, huge belly scoop. So it feels very nice to play. The top is solid maple and it's a 1/4 inch thick. And I gotta say, the way the binding kind of curves around some of these areas, very, very nice. Looks beautiful. Pretty lightweight too. I threw it on the scale. This one came in at 6.9 pounds, which is pretty good. Just under 7 pounds. So just kind of hits that Goldilocks zone for weight. Feels substantial without, you know, being too overbearing. So that's great. And I should mention, when we're talking about the front of the body, I missed one other neck feature, if you can believe it. We've got the spoke wheel truss rod adjustment right up there. So another really nice, you know, user-friendly feature. You're not having to take anything, you know, off there and try to get a wrench in there and try to find the right size and move, you know, through the strings and stuff. Here it's just a little metal rod. You can make a quick adjustment. So really great feature. Okay, as for the rest of the body, Seymour Duncan pickups, 5-way switch, 2-point trim, milled out of solid steel. So every little aspect of this guitar is like super spec'd out. And when you think about, you know, $1,000 guitar, yes, that's very expensive. But if you wanted some of these features on another brand, you're paying 2 or 3 times. Now, specs are important, but they're not everything. Playability, ergonomics, and tone have to come together with specs to create a guitar you want to pick up and play every time. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna plug it in, test out some tones, then we're gonna talk about ergonomics and playability, all those kind of things, overall construction at the end. Let's plug this thing in and check it out. So there you go, really nice kind of not overly warm neck pickup, but still full. You know, classic Seymour Duncan, they're gonna sound good no matter what. Okay, so now let's try that with position 4. Wow, that's, yeah, pretty quacky. So yeah, I wasn't quite expecting that much quack, but it sounds pretty good. Definitely you could cover, Strat type territory with, something like that. So there's position 4. Let's try the same kind of thing with position 2 there. So to my ear, it doesn't sound quite as quacky. So I mean, really usable in position 4. And position 2, just a little bit more subdued. And that neck pickup, yeah, sounds really great. So we've got sort of a mid-range gain dialed in, and as you can hear, those Seymour Duncans are pretty robust. They have a thick tone, so it's not like, a really thin super shredder tone. And then when we go to the neck pickup, as you guys could hear, really nice, kind of creamy tone. So once you get up high there, that bridge pickup screams pretty good. And yeah, kind of like a really nice tone on that neck as well. Let's try one more example with some higher gain. So a decent amount of crunch on that bridge pickup. As you heard, that palm muting riffing. Lots of great clarity on there. Especially for sort of like a mid-powered Seymour Duncan, these things aren't like super duper hot pickups. So there you go, a little bit of clean, a little bit of overdrive, some heavy gain. This thing seems to handle it all. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the guitar's playability and ergonomics. Now the first thing you might notice is, hey, no headstock dive. That's super important. Now a person can get used to playing a guitar with headstock dive, but until you play one that doesn't have it, you don't really realize what you've been doing. It can literally hold you back because you're holding up the weight and trying to play and move. Whereas a guitar that balances itself, you're free to just kind of like float and play the way a guitar should be. And thankfully this CORT is designed without headstock dive. That's great. As I mentioned, huge cut on the back, very, very comfortable just to nestle up. Very easy to reach the 24th fret. So that's awesome as well. So playability wise, that's great. And if you've never played on stainless steel frets, they're just so slinky, so smooth for vibrato, for whatever slides you need, bends, all of that stuff becomes very easy on stainless steel frets. Just so smooth. So playability is great. And as I mentioned earlier, the neck profile, super comfortable. So it's kind of like, well, it's more Fendery than Ibanez-y, if that makes sense. So very, very comfortable to play, but still very fast. All right, so far the feature set is 10 out of 10. There's almost nothing specced out like this guitar in this price range. Secondly, ergonomics and playability, 10 out of 10. It balances well. It's got a satin neck, very slinky stainless steel frets, contours everywhere, weighs under 7 pounds, 6.9 pounds, and balances well. That's 10 out of 10. This thing plays well and it's got an incredible feature set. But what about the overall construction? That's another piece to the puzzle of a great guitar. Well, looking very closely on this guitar, there was a grand total of one flaw I could find, and it's right here. There's a little bit of filler added because the maple top wasn't quite thick enough to come down and make this contour. So I'll take a shot of it. It's pretty much unnoticeable, but when I look over a guitar, I want to look at all the small details. So there you go. There's a little bit of filler there. Other than that, this guitar is immaculate. Now, next up, what we want to do is pull off the back cavity covers, take a look inside of the electronics compartment and also the trim, because what is hidden will soon be brought to light. Let's pull it off and take a look inside the control cavity. Now, the first thing to note is we've only got 2 springs on the trim, which makes it incredibly slinky and responsive. So a person could add another spring if they wanted like more of a resistance on the bar, but as it is right now, it's very easy to do, flutters and all that kind of stuff. It's very responsive, and that's because there's 2 springs there. Now, there is a steel block, and most manufacturers will use like a small block like this so that you can increase the travel of the trim. If the block's too thick, the trim can't have that same amount of travel. So there you go. That's a look in there. Now, the other thing is, check this out. We've got small dime-sized alpha pots. That's a little bit of a surprise on a guitar like this. And as I was taking off the cover, I remembered on the G290 video, I said the same thing. I opened it up and I'm like, this guitar is beautiful, plays well, great price point, tons of features, all that kind of stuff, like this flagship G300. And then they put like super cheap pots on there. So CORT, at least add full-sized alpha pots. Now, that being said, I've played many guitars with dime-sized pots over the years. Never, ever once have I had a pot crap out on me, ever. So that's something to bear in mind. But that being said, on a guitar specced out like this, so incredible, spend the extra 25 cents and put in some high-end pots. So the G300 absolutely punches way above its price point. That's not hyperbole, that's the truth. This is a great, great guitar. Now, whether or not you want CORT on your headstock or not, that's up to you. That being said, CORTEC is the largest manufacturer of guitars on the planet and makes guitars for a bunch of famous guitar brands. So, CORT has its own in-house brand, which is what we're playing today. But you've probably played a CORT-made guitar. You might even own one and not know it, because CORT does make, guitars for a bunch of famous brands. So they know how to make a high-end guitar, and it really shows on the G300. So there you guys go. That's a quick look at this guitar. And yeah, if you're looking for something in and about the $1,000 price range, check one of these out. It absolutely, like I said, punches way above its price point. And just, plays well, sounds great, and priced just right. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. If you enjoy demos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I try to bring you guys new and interesting gear that's not always part of the mainstream. So if you enjoy stuff like that, be sure to subscribe. The rest of my information, tab store, t-shirt store, gear I use, all down in the video description below. Other than that, have yourself a great day.